Prince William and Prince George are not only father and son, but also bound together by a destiny that stretches back over 1,000 years, a legacy of sovereign bloodlines, crowned heads, and ceremonial duties that have defined the British monarchy for centuries. Yet, behind the glittering public appearances and polished royal pageantry lies a rule so chilling and emotionally charged that even seasoned royal experts tread lightly around its implications. This is the morbid rule, a protocol deeply embedded in the monarchy's survival playbook, one that could force William and George apart, not because of scandal or division, but in the name of protecting the future of the crown. Experts in royal tradition have recently reignited discussion around this rule, especially as Prince George continues to mature into his own role within the royal family. Now 12, George has already made public appearances beside his father and has started shadowing elements of royal duty with the poised dignity of someone far beyond his years. The crown has begun planting the seeds of responsibility early, preparing the young prince for the eventual day he will ascend to the throne. But the more he steps into the spotlight, the closer the family edges toward a harsh reality, a policy that states two direct heirs should never travel together, nor live under the same roof too frequently, especially during periods of national or international transit. It is a rule not born of politics, public sentiment, or royal vanity, but of survival. In the event of an accident, an attack, or an unforeseen tragedy, this rule ensures that the line of succession is protected. The logic is grim but necessary. By preventing heirs from sharing flights or being housed together too often, the monarchy secures the throne's continuity, even in the face of disaster. What's most chilling about this rule isn't its logic, but the emotional distance it mandates between those who share blood, love, and an almost sacred sense of duty. Imagine being Prince William, a man who, while wearing the cloak of future king, is first and foremost a father. To know that you may be required, at some point, to separate yourself from your firstborn son not due to conflict but due to protocol must carry a weight so heavy that it defies words. Experts believe that this rule, though quiet and rarely discussed publicly, has already shaped how William and Catherine manage George's exposure to royal duties and official engagements. Every trip, every public outing, every shared moment is measured not just in optics but in risk. And as George continues to grow, so does the sense of urgency that hovers around this tradition. There have already been signs that the palace is subtly preparing the public for such a shift. Observers have noted that William and George are now occasionally seen taking separate vehicles, even when heading to the same event. While often explained away as logistical convenience or media management, insiders suggest these decisions are influenced by a broader risk mitigation strategy rooted in this centuries-old rule. It's a ghost in the machinery of monarchy, silent, watchful, always calculating the odds of preservation. The monarchy's very essence rests on its ability to endure, to outlast wars, abdications, scandals, and societal upheaval. For this endurance to hold, heirs must be shielded from collective risk. Queen Elizabeth II herself was governed by this rule, and her son, King Charles III, lived under its shadow during his years as Prince of Wales. Now it's William's turn to ensure the same protection for George, and eventually, George will have to do the same for his own children. This chain of emotional sacrifice is the price of crown-bound destiny. What makes this rule all the more poignant is the loving relationship between William and George. They are often seen exchanging genuine smiles, inside jokes, and easy camaraderie during public events. George looks up to his father not just as a royal figurehead, but as a hero, a protector, and a teacher. For William, George represents the future he is preparing to safeguard, not only for the institution but for the family he holds dear. To be told that the closeness they share must, at times, be limited for the sake of a hypothetical disaster is nothing short of heartbreaking. The public often sees the royal family through a filtered lens, polished smiles, tailored appearances, carefully worded statements. But behind palace walls lies a lifetime of navigating rules that demand personal sacrifice for the greater good. This morbid rule is one of those silent forces, an unspoken agreement with history, a quiet surrender to tradition, and a reminder that the role of royalty is never lived freely but under constant compromise. Royal experts believe that as Prince George approaches his teenage years, the rule may be enforced with increasing frequency. International trips, public ceremonies, and even family holidays could see the young prince and his father required to travel separately. The separation may seem small or logistical from the outside, but for a family that has already endured global scrutiny, personal losses, and generational trauma, every enforced distance takes an emotional toll. And it's not just William and George affected. Catherine, Princess of Wales, as a devoted mother and royal figure, finds herself constantly balancing the emotional needs of her children with the obligations of public life. For her, the thought of sending her husband and eldest son in separate directions due to tradition is a burden she carries with silent grace. Those who've known her say she embodies strength, but even strength can be frayed by worry, especially when love is in the equation. This is the unseen cost of monarchy. Not the diamonds, palaces, or titles, but the slow erosion of intimacy under the weight of protocol. In an age where public sympathy and emotional transparency matter more than ever, the royal family finds itself walking a tightrope between tradition and compassion. How do you prepare a young boy to one day rule a nation while also shielding him from the very rules designed to protect him? How do you teach him leadership, empathy, and duty without placing him in danger or isolating him from those who love him most? The coming years will test these boundaries like never before. As George takes on more public responsibilities, the world will be watching. Not just to see how he smiles or waves or recites his lines, but to witness how he navigates the tightening strings of monarchy. William, with all his experience and heartache, stands as his guide, but protocol may dictate that sometimes he must do so from a separate room, vehicle, or continent. In the face of this emotional complexity, the public must remember that behind every royal decision lies a human heart. Prince William and Prince George are not just heirs to the throne, they are father and son, mentor and pupil, linked not only by blood but by a shared burden of history. The morbid rule that seeks to separate them does so in the name of legacy, but it leaves behind echoes of what could be lost in the process. And so, as the British monarchy marches forward, anchored in tradition yet propelled by a new generation, one must ask, is the preservation of the institution worth the quiet sacrifice of love's everyday moments? Can a crown survive not only by outlasting danger but by embracing humanity? What do you think? Should royal tradition always come before family closeness, or is it time for the monarchy to write new rules for a changing world? Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and drop a comment to let us know what you think about this emotional royal tradition. Every click helps our community grow and ensures you never miss any breaking royal updates.